Today, the Tour du Pont waves farewell to the tranquility of the homestead, where long-distance cycling is a million miles away. Hi everybody, I'm Phil Liggett and welcome back to the Tour du Pont. Well, the race gets closer to Washington DC every day. This is the last day the riders will spend in the mountains of Virginia, and everybody agrees it will be the hardest day of the Tour this year. Now, you know, the homestead where the riders came to yesterday gave them a great night. They had lots of time to relax, and for many reasons they would like to stay here. One reason, of course, is the mountains at the end of today's stage at Wintergreen Resort. Now, I'm joined this morning at breakfast by none other than Greg LeMond, the rider who has hit the headlines in his own country all week. He started with the prologue time trial, which he won and took the leader's yellow jersey. The very next day he flatted and he lost that race lead. Well, yesterday here at the homestead he finished third. He's now 8 seconds off the lead. Good morning, Greg, and you're in with a shot today.
Morning, Phil. This is the big day for all the riders. It's going to be, I think when we come out of Wintergreen, we're going to find out who's really in contention for the overall victory. I'm feeling okay on the climbs. I'm not at my very best.
I've spoken to you all over the world, and you've never said, I'm going to go out there and win. You've always said, yeah, you know, I'm not feeling so good.
Well, I try to prepare for the worst. That's why. No, I try to prepare for the worst. I don't want to be shattered when I lose a minute or two. Yeah. And there's a very good possibility. I lost 2.5 minutes last year on Wintergreen, although I did some work for the team beforehand. I hope I could keep it at a minute, maybe less. Maybe I'll ride better than I think. And
what would you honestly say that you would need to be down by the general classification tonight to still come back and win this race on Sunday in Washington in the time trial?
Well, it depends on who's the leader. If it's a climber like Atle, I hope he has enough time that he can win it. But if it's another type of climber, if he has a 45-second minute lead, I think I could make up some time on him, enough time in the last time trial to come back. But if it's a guy like Laurent, if I'm a minute down on him, it's going to be very difficult. Yeah. I believe I can stay close to all the riders that are good in the time trial.
All right, well, joining me this morning too is Ver.Ⅱ, my co-commentator, and Brian, with you, Bobby Julie.
Indeed, Bobby, for you, Wintergreen was a big day last year, and you ended up 5th overall, best young rider, and well, at age 20, I think they'll just about be able to retire that jersey. But you and the U.S. team have done a great job here racing with Greg and everybody else.
Yeah, we're looking forward to today's race. It's going to be definitely the race to see who wins the race overall. Our team has been doing pretty well so far. We've been pretty aggressive, and we're just looking forward to today to really put our stamp on it. But like Greg said, I'm not really too confident in my climbing either. Last year I did do quite well there. I was in a group that only lost a minute to the main guys. Adelaide was another minute ahead of us, but I was in contention there. So I just want to stay close and then maybe have a good time trial, because I think my time trial is going good right now, as long as I can stay close on the climb today.
Phil was bragging on Greg's third place finish yesterday. Guess who was second? Bobby, also, the U.S. team is a team here, but in 6 weeks' time are the Olympic trials, and you're working well together here, but in a few weeks you're going to be fighting each other pretty hard for only a few spots that are available on the Olympic team, 3 for the road and 4 more for the team time trial.
Yeah, there's having 3 spots and then having so much depth this year in our riders, it's going to be really hard. And I don't think I want to be in Chris Carmichael's position of picking the team, because it's going to be really cutthroat.
Well, you'll have an opportunity to pick the team yourself a little bit. Good luck to you and the rest. Phil?
Thank you, Brian. Well, Greg, you're at one end of the career and you've done just about everything in cycling. Bobby's alongside you. He's hoping to repeat what you've done. Give him a tip today, even if he beats you.
Oh, he might beat me. He beat me last year. I don't think I would give him much of a tip today. It's just go your max up to the top of the hill. And
Bobby, what do you think?
That sounds good. I mean, there's no hiding today, and it's no excuses either.
Okay. Well, we'll find out what happens when we come back, because we will join the action of today's stage on the Tour du Pont. And welcome back to the homestead, the scene of today's mounting stage of the Tour du Pont. Remember, the 1992 Tour du Pont is being brought to you by DuPont, and by the Homestead Resort and Spa, and by the state of Virginia. Well, the start this morning, it's overcast, there's a little bit of fog about, but there's no threat of rain. The riders now, well, all they've got to do is ride. There's the leader, Stephen Swart, and on his team too is the strongman, the US champion, Davis Finney.
Steve's the guy who's riding like the winner on this team, you know, and we're all lined up the front, we're all working, we're all doing this and that, and the good guys should be just ready to burn their energy now, and I think Steve's one of them, so we'll see what happens.
Well, everyone's still a threat. Still, there's how many guys within 2-3 minutes, you know. That climb could take 5-6 minutes out of someone, so we'll see.
Steve is right to be worried, of course, and he's worried about this man more than anybody else. Atle Voldsvold from Norway, riding on Greg LeMond's Z team. And Atle won this stage 1 year ago and took the overall lead in the race. He's confident. So too is his countryman but rival, Dag Otto Lauritsen on the Motorola team, and Phil Anderson. They're all worried about Atle Voldsvold from Norway. He surely is the man to watch.
For me, it's the tactic is very simple. I have to attack in intergreen and try to go away alone.
If I'm within a minute, if Atle doesn't leave me more than a minute, then I think I have a chance.
Perfect temperatures for racing here today. A little bit of fog keeping it to feel cool, but the sun is expected to burn through, and, well, the hot racing is upon us indeed as the race sets out from the beautiful homestead. No one eager to leave as they have been most hospitable here in the hills of Virginia, but the hills themselves will be less than hospitable in just a matter of a few miles.
And they face a tough day today. The tough day begins right the minute they leave the homestead. They climb up the hill they came down yesterday. Coming down will be a lot easier than going up this morning. It's the climb up to the top of Warm Spring Mountain, and it'll really warm the legs up, right.
Well, I guess that's the way they'd like to start it out. I'm sure that the racing will be very quiet early on. They know that the big mountains are coming up more towards the end of the race, and everyone will try to just ride themselves into it. The Chevrolet team going to the front. Jamie Paolinetti there leading the pack, strung out in single file, so he's setting a good pace. There's the team leader of Chevrolet, Jeff Pierce, sporting that beard. He's easy to spot. Roy Nickman, the strong man of Coors Light, behind him. And here's the team captain, who has been suffering a little bit, feeling ill.
And that was Alexis Greywall on the other side with the long ponytail is Laurent Fignon, twice winner of the Tour de France. He hasn't been really distinguished in this race, but I'm sure that we might see a bit of him today, at least in the hills. Dag Otto Lauritsen hoping today to be the new leader of the Tour du Pont by the time we get to the Wintergreen Resort. All the heads of state know that today is showdown time, and the hills will decide the best man thus far in this race. Roy Nickman, a busy day ahead for him today in defence of his team captain, Stephen Swart. Will he be in yellow by the end of it?
The pack on one of the smaller climbs that precede the very summit of Warm Springs. This was the descent, and coming in reverse direction, they were doing a lot faster speed than they are right now. Over the top, still a lot of chatting. Roy Nickman keeping the pace up. He has been the workhorse of the Coors Light team. They have held the yellow jersey since Dave Mann took it in the second time trial, stage 2.
Well, they've taken no time at all to get the legs in gear today. The average speed is up as it's been all week, and they're racing now towards the Wintergreen Resort. Speeds already achieved of 55 miles an hour on the descents, and the tempo above the average speed of 20 miles an hour, Brian, and these attacks are now coming thick and fast. The loosening up exercise in today's stage of the Tour du Pont has begun. They know, as we do, every man today is for himself.
A perfect look at the way teams operate. The attack coming from Amaya, they're not dangerous, but quickly the Z team and Coors Light go right to the front to chase it down. They are the ones that want to keep this race together. They don't want any little escape to happen because they're trying to set up their men. Of course, Stephen Swart is trying to hold the lead. Greg LeMond, Atle Voldsvold trying to take it from him.
Beautiful scenery of Virginia as the pack rolls along. Already there is pain at the back of the field. There's plenty more hills to come as the pack rolls towards the top finish at Wintergreen Resort. We'll be back. And this is Stephen Swart, who's riding this race with great maturity indeed, leading the race today and facing his toughest day in the saddle.
Coors Light team have done a terrific job in defending the yellow jersey, and they are also in first place overall as a team. There's David Farmer, the newest addition to the team, added at the last minute. The riders faced 98 miles on the way to Winter Green. Along the way, 2 sprints for points on the flats in the town of Goshen and Vesuvius, and 4 sprints for points in the mountains along the way. The first coming right off the top at Warm Springs in the first 10 miles of the race. A very difficult climb coming 70 miles into the race, and then, of course, the finish, which is the most difficult of all.
Well, our man about the Tour du Pont this year has been Kevin Cusick. He's been with the top team to find out how they work.
The Tour du Pont has featured some of the best cycling teams in the world, including Greg LeMond's Team Z. Well, team success each day is measured on the victory stand by who's wearing the yellow leader's jersey. But that person makes up only a small portion of what is really a 7-man endeavor. Every morning on the Tour du Pont, crowds gather at the start line hoping to catch a glimpse of cycling's premier riders. The first stop for most spectators is the team car of Greg LeMond. But in cycling, as in all sports, the team superstar must have a strong supporting cast in order to succeed. Well, the stars of Team Z are Greg LeMond and Atli Vazval. Their role as the GC or general classification rider is to stay on top of the overall standings.
Overall, our team's been at, basically any break that's dangerous, we've got somebody there to cover it, and climbers that are there to cover it, which is very good because if you're covering it with climbers, you know that they have a good chance of dropping whoever's in the break come the hills.
Ah, yes, the mountains. Well, to survive the agonizing mountain stages, Team Z features Terry Claverola, Eric Boyer, and Jerome Simone. All 3 are solid all-around riders, but when it comes to climbing, they're capable of not only enduring the steep mountain ascent, but escorting the team stars to the front of the pack. Thus far in the Tour du Pont, Claverola has been the only rider to wear the blue jersey, signifying King of the Mountain.
Normally, if we were just going for the mountain classification, we'd have 1 or 2 riders that would try to lead him out to the bottom of the hill and then have 1 rider pace him up until about 1 kilometer from the mountain sprint. But he doesn't really care for that. He prefers to just stay in the front by himself and then take care of it himself. He's not having much of a difficult time winning the mountain classification. There's nobody really contesting him. And so he's pretty much at ease by himself. He's here, he's going for that, but he's also doing a lot of work, going in breaks and helping Atla and myself on the climb. So he's also working as a good teammate.
Johan Lammerts and Francois Lemarchand serve as the domestiques. And much like in football where the lineman protects the quarterback, a domestique chases down every break and makes sure the GC rider has everything he needs to succeed. Johan is the domestique extraordinaire on Team Z, always chasing down the breaks.
Well, he's first of all a friend that I've known for, he was on my team in '87 and had my hunting accident and we got away, and then we came back together in '89. He's usually my roommate, and actually is also, we talk a lot. If I'm not riding well, I tell him my problems, and he tells me a little bit about his problems. He probably doesn't complain quite as much as I do.
Well, the first thing what friends do is I think support each other. So he supports me too in a way, and I support him. But on the other side, I know cycling pretty well. I've experienced, and I've been riding in very big teams, and so I know what to do. And I think that's very important for him. And he never has to ask anything or something. And I know just what to do. When there's a side wind, I have to keep him out of the wind and stuff. And it's the most important thing.
Heading into today's stage, Lammerts was 81st overall, but that tells only half the story. Team Z has 2 riders in the top 4, meaning Lammerts is certainly getting the job done.
Johan Lammerts, capable of winning races himself, but more than happy to sublimate his victorious opportunities for that of his team and his friend Greg LeMond.
And trouble at the back of the race here. Phil Anderson has had a puncture, and that teamwork is now being demonstrated to us by the Motorola team. They've sent men back to get Phil Anderson back into the pack, and that won't take long. He'll be back soon, and so will we. And welcome back, everybody.
1992 Tour DuPont continues, climbing on the final ascent to the Wintergreen Resort. The riders facing their toughest challenge yet. This was the stage that blew the race apart in 1991, and everyone expects it to do the same in 1992.
So Greg LeMond is now hoping he can do something on the climb here today. He's certainly riding very well, and there he is now riding along with his team around him. We saw and heard Kevin Cusack earlier in our program. Now Greg LeMond is putting into effect the help of the team around him, and this, Brian, might be where LeMond will find he's relying heavily on, because he's now taking the Z team right around him.
LeMond has said that he doesn't know how well he can climb because the climbs thus far have not been that difficult. He's been able to meet those challenges, but he's not sure how he will fare on this, the toughest of all. Team Spago are the ones doing the good job right now. James Urbanus of the United States, he went out on a breakaway with about 10 miles to the finish as the climb had just begun. But his time, up to 38 seconds at one point, is beginning to come back under the pressure being applied by Team Z.
And just look at this. All of the team are at the front now, including Greg LeMond. Remember what Greg LeMond told us at breakfast this morning? He would like to be just 45 seconds at best off the race lead tonight. It could be better than that. We're on the climb up to the finish now. He's looking good, and the team is all around him.
Behind Le Marchand and ahead of Clavé-Roland, Greg LeMond climbing easily, as is Phil Anderson looking well. There's Clavé-Roland moving to the front to pick up the pace a little bit. He is the quintessential climber. He smiles, actually, as he climbs, looks over to Atlik Valsbal, and it's now Valsbal with a memory of a win here last year that goes on the attack up the final climb. This is the man everyone expected to win this stage, and he is living up to expectations, attacking on the climb.
Clavé-Roland has set that attack up for Valsbal. He invited him to come and take the lead, and Valsbal has gone. Clavé-Roland has dropped back, and this is Guido Winterberg who's come up to the leader on the road. LeMond is watching. Now he's got to limit his losses to his own teammate. He certainly won't chase him down. And look at this. Clavé-Roland's come back, and he's looking for LeMond now. He's searching for LeMond to nurse him up. He's got Atlik Valsbal away. Now he wants LeMond in pole position. This is superb riding by Clavé-Roland.
He's an excellent team rider, a recent addition to the team. This is his first year with Team Z. Clavé-Roland set up Greg LeMond's victory in the 1989 World Championships with a terrific long breakaway that year. Now Greg has decided, well, if you can't beat him, join him. Bring Clavé-Roland in, and this may be the last link needed by Greg LeMond for yet another victory in the Tour de France.
Well, we're moving to the right now, so we're entering the Wintergreen Resort, and it's going to be a tough climb now, because the riders are thinning out and spreading out. The world champion Gianni Bugno is up here, though. That's the white jersey up ahead of this group of 4 riders. And Greg LeMond is surviving well in this lead group. The yellow jersey also up here, Stephen Swart. So he's trying to hang on as well.
Swart not looking quite as comfortable as LeMond on this climb, however. Stephen Swart showing the grim face of concentration, and that is what he needs. There is nothing around him right now that he needs to think about except getting to the top of the mountain and trying to keep this man from taking too much time.
Back with the leader. Valsbal has attacked very early on this long climb because he needs time. He wants to recoup all the time he's lost in the 800 miles so far and more. And look, he's got rid of Guido Winterberg, and this is a Swiss rider coming up to him on the American Spargo team. It's Herbert Niederberger, and he is dancing on the pedals.
Niederberger came to America on holiday, and he was added to the Spago team by Mike Neal earlier this year. He turned that into a victory right off the bat, winning the Willamette stage race earlier this season, and he has been their strongman in the Tour DuPont.
Phil Anderson riding strongly now. Phil Anderson coming up towards the leaderboard, and that's Darren Baker with him of the US Skittles team as well. Anderson has come into form in a big way in this year's Tour DuPont. 2 stage wins in the bag, and he might well be in yellow now, you know, Brian, if he hasn't had that bad luck on the Thursday evening at the prologue time trial.
Niederberger forcing the pace on Atlik Valsbal, so it is now Niederberger who's making the race, moving from right to left across the road and shaking Valsbal off his wheel.
Thomas Bai, the new recruit, in 3rd place here for Motorola. But this is marvellous racing now. It's a fight to the death amongst the leaders of the Tour DuPont. 1 kilometre to go. Niederberger is on his own. Valsbal is trying to hunt him down again. And still Stephen Swartz refuses to give best to the riders in the Tour DuPont. The yellow jersey has found, as always, that it gives you the strength to stay with the front runners. Clavé-Roland sets the pace. Greg LeMond is still there.
And right there also the 2 young American U.S. amateur riders, Lance Armstrong and Bob Julich, also right there with Greg LeMond and led by Terry Clavé-Roland.
The battle is on now as we climb towards the summit of the Wintergreen Resort, and this is the surprise. Herbert Niederberger and Atle Volsvoll. Volsvoll must have been stunned when Niederberger joined him. Now will he go away and win the stage? We'll find out very shortly. Don't go too far away. We'll be back. Welcome back to the final kilometre of the Tour du Pont today, and this is the big surprise. The Swiss rider riding for the American Spargo team, Hubert Niederberger, and he's now got a clear lead over the rest of the race.
Niederberger certainly showing that Mike Neal made the right decision in adding him to this team this year and keeping him on the team for this race. Niederberger is looking like he's going to get the first stage win for the Spargo team. Clavier-Roland, Greg LeMond climbing very easily there. Up front is Niederberger. Now he is trailing the leaders by 2 minutes and 8 seconds, so as long as they keep him within that 2-minute window, he will not take the race lead. The race lead, the battle for that rather, is between Volsvoll, LeMond, and Steven Swart, who wears the yellow jersey now. LeMond is very definitely in the hunt, and Swart is nowhere to be seen.
Well, Niederberger comes up. It looks like he's straightening his jersey. He's putting his glasses on for the stage win. This is the man who finished 12th in the Tour of Switzerland last year. Now a stage winner here in the Tour du Pont. He won't take the leader's yellow jersey. That will be decided in the sprint finish, I think. This is Atle Volsvoll. Phil Anderson has caught him as well. And Volsvoll, who won here last year, gets second this time. Phil Anderson on the podium again with third. And now the sprint goes on for the lower placings. But the big question is, how much time will the yellow jersey have lost? And who will lead it, Greg LeMond or Atle Volsvoll?
Here comes the rest of the field. Fignon there.
So there's the stage result. Niederberger wins from Volsvoll and Phil Anderson of Motorola. Anderson really is on superb form now. And overall, it's Greg LeMond, and we hear by less than half a second. Volsvoll is second. Steven Swart rode well. He falls to third. This is where we go tomorrow. We now head due east from Wintergreen right out to Richmond, still in Virginia, before we go north towards Washington, D.C. Richmond is the next stop for the riders in the Tour du Pont, and when we get there on Friday, on Saturday, we will stay in Richmond for a circuit race around the city. It'll be a marvellous end to this year's Tour du Pont, and Stage 9 from Wintergreen on to Richmond, 111 miles. Remember the time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time here on ESPS. And don't forget, next up, race 4 of the America's Cup, live from San Diego. And remember this, Greg LeMond is now the leader of this tour. For Brian Drebber, I'm Phil Liggett, and for Kevin Cusick as well, our man on the Tour du Pont, we'll wish you a very good night and see you again tomorrow.
Tom Paul Jr., who did very few laps here.
In the 7th row, it's Paul Tracy, Jeff Andretti, and Scott Goodyear.
Row 8, Jim Crawford, the big star of the first week. Alan Sr. replaces Nelson Piquet and A.J. Foyt.
In row number 9, Buddy Lazier, Raul Boisel, and Jimmy Vasser, the slowest qualifier so far.
Row 10, Mike Groff, Brian Bonner, and Lynn St. James, the 3 qualifiers from today.
It will be a very interesting day tomorrow. Bubble Day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the final day of time trials for this year's running of the race. ESPN has coverage for you tomorrow afternoon, and we'll see you for qualification highlights tomorrow night. For Derek Daly, I'm Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.